I'm Owen Big Glen. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, let's go to my viewer mailbag. Every couple of months, I like to just go through my comment section in YouTube here and pull out a couple of questions that are just too long, well, too detailed for me to put a printed, typed in response to. But I get these kind of reoccurring ones quite a bit here. And so I thought, every couple of months I like to answer them on my YouTube blog here. So question number one here. Owen, what is your opinion on buying realtors that give cash back rebates to buyers? If a buyer does all their own research on listings and reads their own strata documents, they only need the buying realtor to book showings and write offers, then it seems like a good setup. No, this is not a good setup at all. This is a horrible setup. This is what I would call penny wise, pound foolish. And it actually is in breach of, if a realtor is doing that for you, I would quietly get out of there and get a new realtor, because that realtor is in breach of his fiduciary duty. And could either, he will, if that deal went bad in any way, you end up buying a leaky condo or whatever else, you would have a fairly serious legal claim against that realtor, and they'll throw the book at him or her, because they're going to say, well, didn't you read the strata documents, advise him to get a home inspection, look at the property, all that kind of stuff. No, I let the buyer do all that, and I gave him a rebate back on my commission. That realtor will face serious disciplinary action and or lose their license. So if a realtor is willing to do that kind of thing, I can't imagine what kind of realtor that is. Do not go into that. I mean, listen, realtors, I'm getting paid on the buying side from the from the seller. So my service is free to you. You're looking for a rebate on top of that in order to do all that due diligence on your own. Well, I have to ask you, do you have a deep knowledge of all the stratas you're looking at? I mean, the first thing that happens when someone wants to buy a condo and wants me to represent them, there's probably 500 condos for sale in downtown Vancouver, but I can tell you we're probably going to eliminate 400 or 450 right off the bat based on your requirements. There's only so many good ones to go around. So I'm going to save you a lot of time by weeding out all the not so good stuff and focusing on the stuff, that you really want to go after. Then when we're ready to look at one, are you able to decipher all the strata documents, what to look for in there, where the red flags are, how to read a depreciation report? Then when you write the offer, I'm not sure what this realtor is going to do for writing the offer. Are you going to write in all the proper subject clauses to protect you? Write in the empty homes tax clause, the BC spec tax? I don't know. Be very careful with this kind of thing. I would advise you do not do that. And I don't understand what kind of a realtor would even, embark on some sort of an agreement like that. Again, if a realtor is doing that, you've got to be very careful. That realtor could be in some serious trouble if anything ever went wrong with that deal. Instead, hire a pro. Hire an experienced realtor like myself that knows these stratas, can weed down the good ones. Book the showings, look at the units. I'm not going to offer on anything for you unless I see the unit myself. Look at the parking space. If I'm not intimately familiar with the strata, which most of them I am, I'm going to do my due diligence for you. That's what I'm getting paid for. And I have to, because we're going to sign an agency agreement before we even start offering or looking at anything. And in that agency agreement, I'm going to give you a fiduciary duty. It's the highest standard of care. That's what I have to give you. And I would not be giving you the highest standard of care if I was having you do all the groundwork and rebating you back some of my commission. Horrible. Don't do it. Second question. This one I get a ton. And this guy, I think he's probably a new subscriber to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to advise you to maybe buy my book. That's a good way to start. Pay the $9 on Kindle and go back and watch my earlier blogs on timing markets and the buy and hold strategy that I've always advocated here. But Owen, thank you for making these informative videos. With the interest rate changes by the U.S. Federal Reserve that are happening in 2022, so he's talking about they're probably going to start raising rates maybe late next year in the U.S. How do you think this will affect the housing market in Canada? Would love to know your thoughts on this. I'm currently looking at condos in Yaletown, but the thought of interest rate hikes hinders my motivation to buy. I'm thinking the price and value of properties would potentially decrease because of this. Well, yes, please go back and watch the dozens and dozens of blogs I've talked about on interest rates, how they correlate to prices, external factors that you have no influence on should probably put to the side. Buy your principal residence sooner rather than later and just hold the damn thing. Don't try and time a market because it's a mug's game. You're not going to do it. Listen, interest rates are at historic lows right now, and interest rates for the next decade or more are going to be well below what our 10, 15, 20-year average has been. We are in a dream world for interest rates, and we will be for a long time. That said, interest rates can only go up from here. I blogged about it a couple months ago. I mean, I locked in a variable rate right now at 1.19%. I'm getting ready in January to lock in another mortgage. I might go variable, I might go fixed. I don't know, but the interest rates are incredibly low. They will be eased up slowly here, maybe starting next year into 2023, both in the US and Canada will probably follow suit. As interest rates go up, that is generally going to put a cold bucket of water on prices, usually, but who knows? You never know. There's other influences on this with supply and demand and all kinds of other things here. You know, the other thing, just keep in mind that yes, let's say interest rates in the next 3 years go up a full 1% or 1.5%. 1.5% raise from here will probably have a lowering effect on prices. It should. But keep in mind, yes, the price of that condo is going to go down. Let's say a price of a typical one bedroom goes down $15,000, let's say. But keep in mind, your borrowing costs are going to make up that difference, and probably then some. I did that blog on the amortization tables. Have a look, fiddle around with the interest calculator on calculator.net, on the mortgage calculator. Have a look at what the difference between 1.2 and 2.2 or 2.5 will do to your monthly payment, but more importantly, the breakdown between your interest and principal payment. So yeah, the condo might drop $10,000 or $15,000, but you're probably going to make that up and then some on the increased borrowing costs. But the more important thing that I always pounded home how many times, especially on my Saturday blogs, is timing a market is foolish. You're never going to time the bottom. There is never going to be a time where it is all green lights, sunshine, and flowers to buy, ever. I've been in the business, I think can speak from experience with this. There's not many people with this many years in the business. I know it doesn't look like I've got that many years in the business, but I've got coming up to 35 years now that I've owned real estate in Vancouver. And I can tell you, in all the properties I pulled the trigger on, and with all the clients I've worked with over the years, the hundreds and hundreds of clients, it's always the same thing. You're going to make one of the biggest purchases of your life. There is always dark clouds on the horizon. In all the homes I've bought, I cannot remember a time when there was ever not a lot of uncertainty, dark clouds, recessions, interest rate hikes coming up, taxes, all kinds of stuff, that the market was going to go down. And it might. And in a lot of cases, I've told you, half the homes I've bought are worth less than what I paid for them at one point, usually in the first 2 or 3 years. So the other half I've bought have gone up and have never gone below what I paid for them. It's a coin toss. But the best time to buy a property, best time to start investing in the real estate market as well as the stock market for retirement was yesterday. The second best time is today. Stop focusing on these external factors that you have no control over, because they're always going to be there. Ignore them. You know, I have no idea what the real estate market or the stock market is going to do 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now. Could be up another 20%, could easily be down 20 or 25%. But buying a home is a long-term commitment. If you keep it for at least 8 to 10 years, hopefully longer, take advantage of the principal resident exemption, take advantage of the leverage, take advantage of these ultra-low interest rates. Sure, they're going to go up, but they're still going to be incredibly low here for a long time to come. And keep the house and enjoy it. Look at it in 10, 15, 20 years, and you are going to do incredible, guaranteed incredible capital gains on that home. Same thing in the stock market. Buy good quality names. Don't just buy anything. Apples, the Johnson & Johnsons, the Home Depots, the Costcos, hang on to them for long periods of time, and you're going to make boatloads of cash on those. Plus, get all the dividend payouts every quarter on them. That's all that can concern you, is the long term. Not what's going to happen next year if they raise interest rates. It's going to have no impact on you. Gives you a fine little thing here. I pulled this out of a book. This was a Peter Lynch book that I had read a long time ago. Get this, and you can translate this to Vancouver real estate or any real estate market in North America pretty much, maybe with the exception of Detroit or something. Starting in 1965, if you invested at the peak of the market each year, your annual return was 10.6% if you invested at the peak. If you timed the market absolutely perfect every single year since 1965, impossible. Impossible to do. You might do it once, you're not going to do it for 55 years. If you timed it perfectly, invested at the low point each year, your return was 11.7%. So the difference between the perfect timing over the last 50 plus years and the worst timing, buying at the peak, is 1.1%. That's the difference. And you will never time a market perfectly every year at the bottom every year for 50 years. Forget it. This is the exact same thing with real estate. You're never going to time the bottom. Any interest rate hikes that go up will probably be offset with your interest charges and your holding fees costs. But buy the house, hold it, and keep it. Stop worrying about these external factors. And just finally, this is why I tell people, in this day and age of social media, 24-hour news feeds, these anonymous bloggers on YouTube, most of this stuff is garbage, straight up garbage. It's all fear-based. Everything, 80% of what you see in the stock market every day that I come across my desk is fear-based. This is going to go wrong, that's going to go wrong, market's overpriced, we're headed for a correction. We very well might get a correction in the short term. We're due for another one. We just had a 10% correction in September. We just had a vicious one a year and a half ago where the S&P dropped 35%. We're going to get these. In Vancouver real estate, we could very well go down 10% in 2022, but we could also go up another 10%. But don't look at it short term because it's a guessing game. And they roll out too many of these economists and these predictors that they sound official and they sound like they know what they're talking about, but they don't. They're taking guesses. Instead, put your blinders on. Focus on what you have control over. And that is, if you're looking for a condo in Yaletown, hire a good realtor, get pre-approved for the mortgage, get the down payment together, and move forward with it. Then buy the home and keep it for 10 years, minimum, 8 to 10. If you can't commit to that, then you should probably just stay renting, throwing your money away every month to your landlord, which is going to get you nowhere. But you have to have that commitment. Now, it might very well work out that you buy the home and in 2 years you got to sell it and you'd made 80 grand on it. But don't count on it in the short term. That's why real estate should be held with a long-term holding period. It solves all your problems. I'm Owen Bigline. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.